All right. I'm not moving tonight, evidently. Oh, there I am. I am moving tonight. Everything's just fine. What a special show we have for you tonight. And I have a feeling that it's not going to be the only time, because there is a lot of stuff to tell you about what's happening in Mexico Beach. If you'll recall, it is a municipal crisis over there. It's a financial crisis. And if you'll recall, there are a whole bunch of people, including members of the Mexico Beach City Council, who said, "What crisis? What are you talking about? This crazy lady got elected named Michele Miller, and now we've lost our CFO, CEO. I mean, mayor, right? Remember when they had Al Cathy, the longtime incumbent? Everybody knew that the city charter applied to the mayor, but when Michele Miller, a year ago, upset the longtime mayor, they said, "What are you crazy lady?" That all these people had skits. You remember that? Adrian Welly said, "What are you talking about? Iron Fist was beating the table. It was a bad liability." And you even had the city attorney over there refuting himself. Like the 2024 Clint McCahill was in a legal conflict arguing with 2023 Clint McCahill. It was unbelievable. But he's gone now. So is Adrian Welly. So are the city administrators. I mean, everybody's gone except for Iron Fist, the vice mayor, and bad liability Jerry Smith. They say it's because the new mayor's too mean. But as you're going to find out, and everybody's going to find out, there's a serious financial crisis in Mexico Beach, the city that was decimated by Hurricane Michael, the Cat 5 hurricane. I mean, it was as if nearly the entire town was bombed to the ground. If any town ever needed FEMA money, it was Mexico Beach, and it deserved it. And $100 million is a lot of FEMA money. But you know what? They don't even have a pier rebuilt. They say they were getting to it. $49 million of FEMA money to pick up hurricane debris. The last 2 years, the financial audits haven't been done. Why? So the mayor, Michele Miller, she called her state representative and state senator, Jay Trumbull and Griff Griffiths, and had a meeting with them and said, "Gentlemen, there's a real problem. I know that there's something called the Joint Legislative Auditing Committee. And at the Joint Legislative Auditing Committee, maybe they can come help us out." And the two guys said, no, you don't want to do that. Don't bring those guys in. Well, she wrote them a letter anyway, and they took it very seriously. And so there was a hearing. And at the hearing, the new Senator Jay Trumbull appeared at the hearing. Let me show you really what happened. Jay Trumbull went there and said, "Hey, it's just a small issue, guys." He's speaking to the Joint Legislative Auditing Committee that said, "We really need to talk to you, Mexico Beach, because we've got some concerns." They have the authority to vote and send the state auditor to look under tables and phones and start finding out where all the money went, because they weren't telling Mayor Miller. And that also concerned them. But Senator Trumbull showed up and he said, "I think we got a good handle on it, guys." And this is what happened. This is what happened. I showed this in December of 2023. This is just a minute and a half summary.
Just want everyone to know that I believe their charter does call for a strong mayor.
Look,
and strangely enough, I understand the mayor is being denied access to financial records and her ability to carry out her responsibilities since she is responsible for the city's financial records. So I think an audit is certainly called for when the other members of the council don't want her to have access to those records. It might be good that somebody independent steps in and takes a look at it. So I will be up on it. With that, we're going, any other further debate? Okay, Melissa, would you please call the roll?
Representative Benjamin is excused. Senator Broder?
Yes.
Senator Davis?
Yes.
Senator DeSigley.
Yes.
Representative Gossett Seidman.
Yes.
Representative Hart is excused. Representative Plakin.
Yes.
Senator Simon.
Yes.
Representative Yarkowski. Vice Chair Pizzo.
Yes.
Chair Caruso.
Yes.
We have a quorum.
Oh boy. Take the walk of shame, Jay and Griff.
Thank y'all.
Milwaukee. State Representative Griffiths, State Senator Trumbull. Uh-oh. What's he gonna do, guys? So they're there. Now the state auditor is there, and they're finding all kinds of stuff. So I figured I would bring Mayor Miller and ask her, what is the latest over there? She's got 2 lawsuits. There are 2 hearings in the Bay County Courthouse on the 8th of this month. And I told you that one of them was an evidentiary hearing and they were going to be calling witnesses. I was going on and on about this last night, but they pulled the rug out from under me. Do you know that they changed it at the last minute? How was I to know? It's actually not going to be an evidentiary hearing, but there is going to be a hearing. But it's the hearing before the lawsuit against the recall committee. It's the hearing for her lawsuit against the city saying you've got to follow the charter. Number one, she's asking for 2 things. 1, follow the charter. That's called a writ of mandamus. That's what she's asking for. 2, an injunction against the city to stop breaking the law. Stop not following the charter and start following the charter. That's the first hearing. The second hearing is not going to be an evidentiary hearing. It's going to be a hearing where the judge decides on the 8th of this month whether or not there can be a recall election based on lies. There clearly as a matter of law was no sunshine violation. And there clearly as a matter of law was no instance listed in there in which Mayor Miller overstepped her authority and violated the charter. So if those things didn't happen, how do you have an election? A recall election in that case would actually undermine last year's real election. And we can't have unscrupulous petitions and recall committees trying to undermine the election. We've got to uphold the election when there are not true charges. And that's what the judge will be deciding. All right, so we are going to bring on Mayor Michele Miller. If you haven't met her, you're about to meet her right after this.
Strong, effective leadership. 3 words that could mean the difference between prison and your freedom. I'm Al Saulene, your Panama City Beach lawyer. 850-215-0628.
Don't let back pain and neck pain get you down. Find relief at Brown Chiropractic Center on St. Andrews Boulevard in Panama City. Dr. Sherry Brown helps people heal naturally with chiropractic adjustments and deep tissue massage. Call 769-3777. All right. Michele Miller, Mayor of Mexico Beach. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Bernie. It's nice to be here with you tonight.
I'm going to look at the comments and make sure everybody can hear you and everything's working well. You know what I thought we would do, Mayor Miller, is just sort of talk a little bit about who you are. There's a lot of people who have seen clips that I show of you running the meetings and all of the flack that you get and the support that you get as well. Everything sounds good. It's Jeff, it is Judge Goodman. All right. Miss Sarah Moon says it's all good. So I thought people could just get to know you and talk a little bit about what this state audit is finding. And then maybe we can come back tomorrow or a special show this weekend or next week or anytime and update people showing them the actual documents. So you won the election. You upset the longtime mayor. That shocked everybody. Your supporters were thrilled. Your critics were not thrilled. It's been a heck of a year for you, Mayor Miller.
It has. It definitely has, Bernie. Not what I expected.
You thought you would also be the CFO of the city, but instead, what happened when you got there as the mayor? What were some of the first, you ran on transparency. You told everybody, we're going to find out why we got $100 million of FEMA money and we don't have a a pier built, and there's seems like we're behind. And what happened when you tried to do that?
Well, the first thing I did was I asked our city administrator about the software. And he said, oh, yeah, we got software. So I got a hold of the finance director, which was Debbie McClendon.
And you're talking about the accounting software.
Correct, the accounting software. It's called Springbrook. And I asked Debbie, I said, hey, is there any way that I can get access to the software? My husband's a software engineer. He's built software. So I knew that we could probably get this pretty easily with a few clicks of a button. And all I was asking for was view only. And next thing I know, all heck breaks loose literally in Mexico Beach because I asked for access to the software.
Which is what the charter, I may still have it, what the charter says, the city charter, which is the constitution of the city, of course says, and I do have it. Let's take a look. Here's what the charter says about the council. Okay, this is about the council. It says all powers of the city shall be vested in the city council, and the critics of Mayor Miller, the ones who don't want the mayor to see the financial records, they're pointing only to this, and they're ending the sentence halfway through. It says all powers of the city shall be vested in the city council, herein referred to as the council, but that's where they stop. But listen to this: except as otherwise provided by law or by this charter, and the council shall provide for the exercise thereof and for the performance of all duties and obligations imposed on the city by law. Well, what are those obligations and duties for the mayor? Well, it says this. Let's start. You can read it yourself, but let's get to where the underlined part is. The mayor shall be, not might be, could be, sometimes is when Al Cathy's there. It says the mayor shall be. There's nothing higher than this. The chief elected administrative and fiscal official of the city. Let's see. Chief Fiscal Officer, official of the city, CFO. Ding, ding, ding. Just like Al Cathy was when he was there as the mayor for a long time. The powers and duties of the mayor shall be such as conferred upon him or her now by state laws, this charter, and by the city council. And incidentally, take a look closely at those last few words. The rules of statutory construction apply. How do I know? Because I'm Bernie the attorney. That's how I know. All right, I'm not an attorney. I just play one in real life when I get sued for defamation and beat the real ones because I'm telling the truth. So I've learned a little bit. But look, the rules of statutory construction basically say that which is created is not more powerful than its creator. Therefore, the city was created by the charter, so the charter is supreme. The charter was created by state laws, therefore state laws are supreme. So you can't say that the city council supersedes the charter. Can't do that. The rules of statutory construction. Michelle, I'm available as the city attorney if you want to have Bernie the attorney. Your attorney says he's not coming back. What's the latest on that?
Oh, we got an interim attorney to come in. So
and
I think we're good.
Do you is it Sloan? Mr.
Yes,
Sloan?
Mr. Sloan, Tim Sloan.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll be, of course, going through the process laid out by the state to get a permanent.
Correct.
Just like they did before. Just like they did before. So, okay. So now everybody knows that you're the CFO of the city. So who had access to the city when you, to the finances when you got there? It's on a, you guys use an accounting software program. You have a contractor named Springbrook. Springbrook issues what, 2 access keys, and the CFO didn't have them? 3 of them?
3. Yeah. When I spoke with Springbrook, some managers at Springbrook, they told me that basically there were 3 keys, and it was up to the city to determine who got those keys, and that was administrative rights. I didn't even ask for administrative rights. I was just asking for view only. And then I didn't ask for just myself. I asked for the whole council. We are all responsible for our budget. So I had heard Mr. Wolf in the past pass ask about, the records and seeing the finances, and I thought this would be a great thing for our city council, for our city, for our citizens, for transparency. And again, it was just like hitting a brick wall.
So you thought that all the elected officials and the city administrator, which, by the way, the city administrator is different. Let's talk about the city of Mexico Beach. And you heard the Joint Legislative Auditing Committee say that Mexico Beach is actually a strong mayor system of government. And so the way it works is you have basically two types of city governments. You have a strong mayor system where the mayor is the boss of all the employees. And then you have what they call a weak mayor system. And these are loose terms, a weak mayor system in which the mayor is one of five on the council, and the person who is in charge of the employees is a city manager, right? But since Mexico Beach is a strong mayor system, a mayor council form of government, according to the charter, they don't have a city manager. They have a city administrator, which is different and less than. So that means, again, according to the charter, that the mayor is not only the CFO, but the CEO. And the former mayor said that last year or in 2022, and nobody disagreed. But you get there, Mayor Miller, and all of a sudden, you're just, what they call you, a figurehead. What do they call you? You're just ceremonial.
Ceremonial. Mm-hmm. And they're currently trying to change the charter to read it, the mayor's ceremonial. So
why would they have to change it if already you were?
Exactly.
So all hell broke loose for a long time. And the mayor, all of a sudden, after you were elected in April, a year ago, you didn't have access to the finances. And it felt like people who should not have these access keys, 3 people other than you had them. Who were they?
Okay, well, at the time it was Mr. Baber, and of course,
The administrator.
Yeah,
Okay.
And Mr. Clinton, the finance director, which makes sense. And I don't know who the third one was, but when I asked Springbrook to send me the information on who had access, administrative rights, it took them a couple of weeks before I could get that. Now, that's kind of strange, but in that couple of weeks, something changed, because then it was Debbie was leaving.
That was the accountant who was not an employee but was contracted.
Well, she actually did not have a signed contract after we found out.
Okay.
Mr.
Was
Kathy
a contract.
had never signed her contract.
Okay.
So, but when I did get the information, it was our fire chief had a key. Our accounts payable had a key. Well, we say a key. That's what they were saying. It's like buying a car. We give you 3 sets of keys and they can go wherever y'all want them to. So it was them, and then our city clerk.
But
So
it seemed like when you got there, though, it seemed like everybody knew where these keys were, the access to the accounting software, who had full access and who didn't, except for the CFO, except for you. Everybody knew but you. And then you'd go to the meetings. And did it feel like you were being gaslighted by the council and by some critics of yours?
Mm-hmm. Yes, it did. And, I had talked to the city attorney about it one afternoon after a meeting. And I said, we can read the charter. We've got two legal opinions, one of them of which yours is opposite from the one that we had from 2015. And, it really says that I need to be watching the finances and the administrative operations of the city. And he said, just do it.
The Clint McHale, the city attorney said, so do it.
Yeah,
but you didn't have access to it.
Just do it. Yeah, exactly.
So then, if I remember right, there was a situation where soon after, the state audit, which is the Mexico Beach financial audit, which is required by state law and the charter, or at least by the charter for sure. At the end of the fiscal year, it was late, and then after your contracted accountant, Debbie McLeod, soon after the month after you were elected, she said, I'm gonna leave. So she left, and then you tried to figure out, okay, what's going on. So you called the software company, I think, and they accused you of violating the charter, acting unilaterally. They flipped out on you. Is that pretty much what happened?
Well, actually, Debbie, before she resigned, Doug claimed that I had called the software company and had her fired, or was trying to get her fired, which was totally not happening. That didn't happen. I was trying to find out who had access and if there was a way to get access view only. And come to find out, I called several months later about something else, and I spoke with the HR person, Miss Walker, and she told me that Doug Baber had called and told her that Debbie was working for both the city and the software company, and wonder if that was a conflict of interest. So
okay,
everything
so
was kind of twisted.
So the city administrator, not even a city manager, Doug Baber, who had been the city administrator for 2 years, he had full access to the city's finances over the last 2 years. By the way, those years, the financial audits were late. So you called the software company trying to figure out what's going on. You're brand new. They say you're not allowed to do that. Only the city administrator, Doug Baber, is allowed to do that. He calls and he says there's a conflict of interest, and Debbie ends up resigning, and everybody blamed you. Everybody said you did something you shouldn't do. That's insane.
So right after this around the same period of time, I realized that our state audit for 2021 was already late, and 2021 had just been done, and 2022 was late. Well, I called about it to the actual auditors, James Moore, and the gentleman tells me, oh, well, we had it scheduled to start on 5/8, and we got a call on 4/28 that needed to be put on hold because we didn't know what was going to happen with our finance director. So I asked him where that call came from, and it was Mr. Baber as well.
Oh my gosh. So you got the city administrator. I got to show everybody. And soon after he resigns, and he takes his underling, the assistant city manager, and they get out of there. About 7 months ago, they left. They said they got a better job, by the way, in Crystal River, but just a couple of months ago, Crystal River got rid of them. Crystal River had an uprising of the staff that said these guys were bid rigging, bullying, doing things that were unethical. So he only lasted a couple of months there before they got run out. It must have felt like vindication to you, Mayor Miller. You must have felt like I tried to tell you they were like that.
Well, I enjoyed reading those letters from their staff for sure.
Yeah, you've posted them. If anybody wants to read what the department heads and staff in Crystal River had to say, basically their city attorney said, if you don't get rid of these guys, I'm out of here. And there were all kinds of letters detailing the kind of stuff they were doing. And boy, I couldn't help but think that really vindicated you. But that didn't stop some critics of yours, Mayor Miller, from saying the moment the 6 months had passed, because your term is 2 years, and the statute says you have to have served a quarter of your term before there can be a recall against you. And in order to recall you, you have to have committed one of 7 sins, basically transgressions. And they're claiming that you've committed misfeasance and malfeasance. They say that you need to be recalled by the voters because you exchanged an email with the city, with the other 4 voters. And of course, the Sunshine Law says that you cannot exchange an email about something that will be voted on in the future. You cannot have communication with somebody back and forth with something about something that can be voted on in the future. did you send the email, and was that a sunshine law violation?
Yes, it was the email that I had spoke with Debbie about, putting me on the software. And she was like, yeah, I can have it done in like 10 minutes. Email us, keep Doug in the loop. And I'm like, okay, no problem. You know, I am new. So I sent her an email and I copied the council on it, because when I thought about it after I hung up with her, hey, we all need it. It isn't just, you know, they're signing, I'm like power hungry or something. It's not about me at all.
And by the way, you're brand new. You're trying to be transparent. You're kind of learning the law as it goes along. And a sunshine law violation, although that happens all the time in Bay County, but you're the only one they go after. And so
there was no exchange. There was absolutely no exchange.
Yeah, explain that. It was not a sunshine law violation. Why?
No, it was not. Well, I learned very quickly what sunshine law was when I was the previous year in 2022. Doug Baber, Clint McCahill, Adrian Welly, all testified under oath that we broke the sunshine law as planning and zoning members. So I'm very big on research and knowing what I'm talking about. So I looked up and did a lot of research on the sunshine law, and I've never broken the sunshine law. There had to be an actual exchange of information between us on something that would be voted on in the future. And there was no exchange through this email or previously when they tried to say I broke the sunshine law.
And the reason for that is, as I learned in reading your lawsuit against the recall committee, an exchange means, according to the Sunshine Law Manual and according to an Florida Attorney General opinion, it means that there has to be a reply, right? A unilateral email is in no way a Sunshine Law violation. Now, the funny thing is, if any of them would have replied, then it potentially could have been a Sunshine Law violation against all of you guys, but nobody did. So there's no Sunshine Law violation. There's no exchange. There's no back and forth.
And no one asked them a question. It was just stating a fact that I was asking for access, and Ms. McClendon was going to provide that to us.
So this recall committee, they went through the process. They got 10% of the voters to sign, and then the second round, 15% of the voters to sign to have a special election a year after you were elected to decide whether or not to remove you for misfeasance and malfeasance. But there's a problem. We know now the Sunshine Law violation never happened. So there's no malfeasance, I forget which is which, no misfeasance, I believe. And then the second thing that they charged you with, or they accused you of, and that's the only way they can be a recall election, is if you've committed these. The first one you did not commit. The second one, they said that you unilaterally violated state statute. I'm sorry, not state statute, unilaterally violated city charter. And they say that you fired an employee and you hired a contractor or something like that. And they said you overstepped your bounds. That's claim number 2 against you. Tell me about that.
Okay, so I was meeting with the new finance director, Miss Lucas, and Mr. Manning, and this was after Mr. Baber had left, on a weekly basis, kind of keeping up with, how's the transition to the new accountant going, how's the budget coming along, because it was getting budget time. And after a meeting, I asked Miss Lucas and Mr. Manning, how are we with Debbie's time? We had hired her at $75 an hour to just transition Miss Lucas into the position. And
finance / accountant.
Yes, correct. I'm sorry.
And you needed one back.
You were like everybody knows everybody.
and you were already late on the last year's audit, so you needed somebody in place, and she was very qualified.
Yes, very qualified. and very willing to do the job. And she had already been contacting me that she was not getting everything she needed. And I was trying to make sure she was getting everything she needed. But by this time, she was like, I think I can do it on my own. I think I'm pretty, I'm not really getting anything anyway. And we were spending money, and I felt like it was an open pocketbook at that point. So I was like filling them out. Hey, let's see if we can get her out of here and get Miss Lucas in here doing everything. And our budget's about done.
To get so the old accountant who was a contractor left, but they felt like we needed to train the new lady. They bring her in. She doesn't train the new lady. She just blocks her. And so the new lady says, this is tough. And so they let her go. That didn't work out. Now you guys are really behind on the audit.
Yeah.
And that's about the time, isn't it? That they brought in the old city administrator from 2014 who left in a political turmoil, Chris Hubbard. They voted to bring him back. So now the city administrator without a contract is Chris Hubbard. But Chris Hubbard, who is the main guy with a key blocking the finances now, he has an interesting relationship with the accountant who had the other key to the finances, doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
Their boyfriend and girlfriend.
Yeah, they've lived together since they left here in 2014. Yes.
So the city's finances right now are being, the people with full access are not you, but it's Chris Hubbard, the current putative city administrator, and his girlfriend, Debbie McLeod? Or you don't even know who has full access?
I don't even know who has them. I sure don't.
Maybe
Not
we'll
even
find out
know.
at the hearing.
Huh?
Maybe we'll find out in court on the 8th.
Yeah, maybe we'll see.
So, okay, so this is just an incredible story. Now you're 2 years behind. And you went and you were able to get the Joint Legislative Auditing Committee. How did you contact them? Because you were getting blocked, I believe, by State Rep Griff Griffiths and State Senator Jay Trumbull. And they, no, don't do that, don't do that. But you saw what happened. They said, no, we're doing it. How did you get a hold of them?
So the way that started, I'd heard about the Joint Commission. They had sent me, I'd actually called JLAC and said, hey, this is what's going on in our city. What can you help us? And they were like, I was telling the story of being blocked and everything. And they were like, oh my God, red flag, red flag, red flag. And these were two ladies on the phone, with me. And they said, well, here, I'm going to send you some information. There were 3 ways to have this audit done. One was ask one of the representative or senator to send a letter to them. And the second way was get the whole council to agree to have the audit come in. And I was like, well, that's not going to happen. So I went to Griff and them, and they were very kind. I'm going to tell you, they were very kind. Right. And everything. And they just felt like it was, unless I could get the whole council to agree to it, probably wasn't the best idea. So I figured that wasn't going to happen. And then the third way you could do it, the citizens could do a petition, but that one actually cost the citizens. So I didn't want to do that. The first 2 do not cost the citizens. So miracle, I think Adrian thought that the only way that only thing that JLAC would do would be come in and look at the operations. And because he said that, oh, well, it's just an operational audit. So sure, let's do it. I'm going to continue to fight until we get this done. I said, oh, no problem. We voted. Everybody was on board. I waited 2 weeks. No one was sending Griff or Jay a letter. So I went out and I spent my $10 to send them each a letter. And it led us to getting into the JLAC for the.
So let me show that quick clip again for people who are just joining us. This is what she's talking about. So she went to the state representative, Griff Griffiths, and State Senator Jay Trumbull, and asked if they could talk to the Joint Legislative Auditing Committee that can come in and audit a city if there's a problem in the city. They said, come on, there's not a problem. Well, Mayor Miller was able to get a hold of the Joint Legislative Auditing Committee, and the state senator, Jay Trumbull, had to go up and talk to him. And I'm going to show you what happened in December. Oh, hold on one second. I gotta hit the right buttons before I can do that. Here's what happened in December. This is amazing.
I believe their charter does call for a strong mayor, and strangely enough, I understand the mayor is being denied access to financial records and her ability to carry out her responsibilities since she is responsible for the city's financial records. So I think an audit is certainly called for when the other members of the council don't want her to have access to those records.
Hey, by the way,
Might be
this would be a good
somebody
time to show you
independent
this.
steps to that.
You see that? That's that on the left there. That is these are all city council members that were trying to block Mayor Miller. That's bad liability. Jerry Smith on the left. That's Adrian Drama Queen Welly, and then that's Rich Iron Fist Wolf. And if you notice, they all have hats on. And if you want to show your support, and you want to support the show, you want to support the cause, you can. Look at that. I've made it available for you. You can get a hat. You say, Bernie, $34.99 plus shipping. That's expensive for a hat. I know. I'm trying to keep the lights on. I'm trying to keep this thing going. And so I'm not saying it's the cheapest hat, but it's a great hat, and people who have them love them. And you can get yours at berniestore.etsy.com. berniestore.etsy.com to get yours. And let me finish this clip. Look at them. I think they look good in them.
Those records, it might be good that somebody independent steps in and takes a look at it. So I will be up on it. With that, we're going, any other further debate? Okay, Melissa, would you please call the roll?
Representative Benjamin is excused. Senator Broder,
Yes.
Senator Davis,
Yes.
Senator DeSigley,
Yes.
Representative Gossett Seidman,
Yes.
Representative Hart is excused. Representative Plakin,
Yes.
Senator Simon,
Yes.
Representative Yarkowski, Vice Chair Pizzo,
Yes.
Chair Caruso.
Yes.
We have a quorum.
Oh, Senator Trumbull and Representative Griffiths take
Thank
the
you.
walk of shame. Woo! Yeah, you gotta walk on out of there. And now you've got the state auditor general there, Mayor Miller, looking at the finances. Now the city is 2 years behind on their financial audit. What is the latest on that? I mean, are there consequences to that? And how did that happen? Oh, one moment. I'm sorry, I muted you. There you go.
Okay.
You're back.
There's definitely consequences to being late on your audits. Back in September 22nd, we got our first letter saying, hey, you're late on your 2022 audit, and we need you to get caught up, or these consequences are going to be that you lose your state tax funding. And we had by the June 30th to get it in, and it of course didn't happen. And then now the 2023 is going to be late this June, and our 2022 still has not been turned in. But we do have CRI. We hired them in November 1st to take over. It did take them a little
explain who that is. That's Carl Riggs and Ingram. They are a big accounting firm recommended by the rest of the council, and they were voted in. So you have an actual big local accounting firm, Carl Riggs and Ingram, and they represent. I know they represented Panama City Beach a while back. I'm not the biggest fan of them, but at least now the city has an official accounting team, right?
And you know, they were kind of held back a little bit themselves when they started. It took them a little while. There was nobody to teach them about the software, which is not exactly user friendly. So then we get our letter the 1st of this month again, saying, hey, we're getting ready to take your tax funding away from you. So I asked Chris about it, and he's like, oh, well, the guy, Carl Riggs and Ingram, has a relationship with someone at the Joint Legislative Committee, and he's just going to give him a call for us. And this was before we got this last letter, and we didn't get a call, and so we got a letter, and he made that call this week. He made that call this week for us, and we're going to be having another call coming up with them, and hopefully we're going to have an extension. The thing about losing our state funding, our gas tax, and those kind of things, some of them we will get back when we become in compliance, and there's some that we will not get back. But once we are in compliance, and that's where I'm hoping to get us very soon, so that we're every year on time and even ahead of time. I mean, as soon as the deadline ends, you should be ready within 30 days to start putting your stuff in.
So when you were saying, when I was saying, and I think you were saying that you were concerned that I was using the term fiscal crisis, and the former mayor, Al Cathy, he showed up to a meeting and he said, ma'am, I'm a citizen now, and I don't like that you're saying financial crisis. But the city of Mexico Beach, I believe, has had its state tax funding halted. The only money I think you're getting is to pay bond debts until you guys become compliant. That sounds like it was all happened. All of the bad stuff happened before you got there. And it sounds like there are consequences for what they did. That sounds like a financial crisis. Again, Mayor Miller, it sounds like you've been vindicated. And the city's not losing money because of you. The city is getting in compliance because of you.
That's my hope, is that we'll become in compliance. We'll not lose any of our tax revenues, and we'll be able to move the city forward and stay on task with all our finances in the future.
So my understanding is the Joint Legislative Auditing Committee has done this to a few cities, has gone in and had to take a look at a few cities that were behind. Another city in Bay County, there were a handful of them, probably 8 to 10. A letter, I believe, was written to the CFO of Florida, Jimmy Patronis, local Jimmy Patronis, and notified that Mexico Beach is going to be sanctioned for being 2 years behind, and so is the city of Vernon. And Benita goes to the city of Vernon all the time, and she's been reporting on them, and they also use the same accountant, Carl Riggs and Ingram, and so did Panama City Beach back in 2018, 2017, when they were behind, just so you know.
Okay, I want to correct you on that.
Okay.
Real quick, Tommy. We actually, our auditing firm is James Moore out of Tallahassee. That's who does our state audit. So the audits are two different types of audits. The state required audit is yearly, and we have a firm that does that. We have Carl Riggs and Ingram that we have hired, contracted personally to help us get these ready and into James Moore.
Understood. Okay, good distinction. And I okay, so obviously I know Vernon is in Washington County. I misspoke. But also Benita, just so you know, Benita she is on top of Washington County. Benita, I'm gonna have to send it to you. I am in possession, Benita, just got it today, of a letter that was sent to CFO Patronis by the legislature, or maybe this auditing committee. And the city of Vernon is specifically one of the 8 or so cities that were named. I'll have to get that to you. Okay, sorry, Mayor.
And I do want to also make a clarification too. The JLAC auditors that are currently in our city doing our audit is really separate from the auditor, the type of audit that we have done every year.
Right. This is the Auditor General that was voted by JLAC to come in, right?
Correct. Yeah. and they're
Okay.
still in there, and they're asking lots of questions and getting a lot of documentation. So I think it's going
Yeah.
well.
Very interesting. So the city's annual audit as required by city charter and maybe state statute as well. That is an annual audit that is separate. The reason that the state auditors are there now, part of the reason is because the city has not been compliant with their own audits. That's what you're saying.
Correct.
Right. Okay, good. And I'll write this up and I'll get better at the details as we continue to talk. And you know what I think I'd like to do? I think this was a good first show. And I know that a lot of folks are saying, thank God that Mayor Miller and Bernie didn't show any documents. But if you'd like, I'd love to have you back on and we'll show some documents and you can kind of explain those to me as well, so I don't get that wrong either. So if you'd like to come back, Mayor, we'll have you on anytime. And I think it's kind of urgent with what's happening for the people to be informed.
I think so too. And you know, again, I believe in transparency and accountability. And I think that we're being held to both now.
All right. Well, before I agree. And before we call it a night, you have 2 hearings coming up on the 8th. I don't know what day that is. Do you know what day that is?
8th is Monday.
Wow.
I'm counting down.
And so this is Monday. You've got a lawsuit against the city. You're not asking the city to pay you money. What you're asking for, your relief sought in the first claim, first lawsuit is a writ of mandamus, which basically says you got to do the right thing and follow. You got to start following the charter. And then an injunction is what you're asking for, saying you got to stop doing the wrong thing and not following the charter. That's the first hearing. And then you've got a second lawsuit, both with the same judge in Bay County, Judge Goodman. And the second lawsuit is against the recall committee, saying, hey, if we're going to have a recall election, you got to follow the statute and have actual evidence of misfeasance and malfeasance. And they don't. So that's also taking place, right, on Monday.
Mm-hmm. And the first one would not have even been needed had they followed the rules of a cease and desist order. And as recently as this past meeting, we still had people that were not ceasing and desisting with reference to kind of
violating the charter.
violating.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So and you know, I think I not that she would need it, but it's public record, and I have a lot of respect for what she's doing. You have in both of these cases legal representation from one of the most respected and successful civil attorneys in the entire state, and that's Marie Maddox. And Marie Maddox has found herself representing a lot of people now in Bay County, whistleblowers, people who have had their rights violated. You as a mayor who has had the city charter violated. How has she been as your, these things are slow, but how has she been as your attorney?
I have really enjoyed having Marie standing up for me because she's a strong woman as well. And she's on top of it. She's very good. I have no complaints about Marie at all.
Yeah. And her team has been by your side. I mean, she didn't have to take this case. And I know her. She's represented me before. And I'm surprised at how many cases she is taking regarding potential corruption and rights that are being violated. And I'm just a big salute. And I'm really happy to see her representing you here, because where would you be without her?
You know what? Me and my husband the other night, we watched your show. We was talking about Margot and her situation. And we both looked at each other at the same time and said, you know, that really could have been me had Marie not come into the picture. I think God just sent her to me. I wasn't looking for, you know, I was asking a lot of questions. I actually paid another attorney to give me their opinion on our charter. paid them out of my pocket. And, I got the same opinion from him that we had in our 2015 opinion from Nick, which
is the one that we think makes sense.
Yes.
The only one that didn't make sense was the ad hoc one that was done at the last minute a few months ago by Clint McCahill, who's gone, your attorney, that refuted his previous positions.
Yeah.
Incredible.
So,
but let's, for those who don't know what you mean when you say that you could have suffered the same fate as Margot, she's the most popular mayor in the history of Bay County, and she was the whistleblower of similar corruption in Lynn Haven. And for that, Sheriff Tommy Ford and the FBI arrested her, indicted her. Well, the FBI did with the investigation of the sheriff's office. It's a horror story. I don't want to get into it, but all the charges were eventually dropped. She did end up having to do prison time because they made her, I don't want to say, because they say that, well, she made a false statement to the FBI. It's either that or they never stopped. She suffered 4 years of persecution and all the charges were dropped. And I'll tell you what, there are a lot of us who say that that could have been your fate if you didn't have legal representation. They were going to come after you. That's what they do to elected women around here, by the way.
Well, it's kind of evident, Bernie, that, they came after me before I even considered running for mayor. I had no intentions to, but after they came after me the first time, and it was just political, very political driven, I thought that was God's answer to me to say, yeah, I need you to help these guys out here. And that's why I'm here.
And when you say they, you're specifically talking about State Attorney Larry Bassford's office, the state attorney's office. Yeah. I mean, now I say, oh, because he came after you in 2022 for a bogus sunshine law violation, and they dropped it. But I mean, now that I know that they care about that, hey, Larry Bassford, state attorney, running for office, elections in August. There's a lot of real ones. Why don't you get the real offenders of sunshine law violations? Oh, it makes me so mad. Mayor Miller, anything else you want to say before we call it quits for tonight?
Well, I appreciate you having me on, and thank the citizens of Mexico Beach. I hope they hear and understand what's going on here in Mexico Beach, and what my real goal is to take care of our city.
And transparency. And my goodness, if the city wouldn't be sanctioned, if the state auditors didn't find out that y'all weren't in compliance when they said they were. And so I hope the city gets fixed, because the good people there, some of who are being misled about you, deserve it. Your city was decimated by Hurricane Michael, and it deserves to be rebuilt, and rebuilt the right way.
Well, and I want to say, you made a point here, Bernie, that we have some really good citizens here. There truly are some misled, but even those people are really good people. There's just a handful that just appear to be very vindictive on all of it. So, yeah.
Well, there's always going to be some people acting in bad faith, but my worry in Mexico Beach is, and somebody brought this to my attention a few months ago, and he was right. Because I was thinking, gosh, there's a lot of people over in Mexico Beach that are, no, there's a lot of good people in Mexico Beach who signed the recall petition because they believed that you committed those charges, because they trusted the people who told them. But now that the truth is coming out, maybe they'll consider the evidence and reconsider their positions about you.
Oh, I've actually had some very interesting calls and text and messaging that says, hey, you're going to see my name on the petition, but I want you to know I don't believe it, and I'm not going to vote against for you to be recalled. So, and some of them are Al's friends, so I felt pretty good about it.
Former mayor. Oh, wow, that's nice. So that, and we still don't know if that recall election is going to take place. Early voting starts, I believe, on the 8th. The election day is on the 16th, because your hearing is on the 8th. So The judge may throw it out. The judge may say it's going to go forward. We just don't know yet.
We don't.
All right. Well, Mayor Miller, we are so thrilled to spend time with you. I have watched you grow and get your sea legs as a mayor, learn how to run a meeting, learn how to deal with unbelievable orchestrated criticism against you, be frustrated at how long things take to get done. Just all of it. And I got to tell you, and I've said this, I have never come across an elected official. It's probably still weird for you to hear yourself called an elected official, but because it's only been 1 year, as tough, determined, tenacious, and relentless as you have been to right this ship. And you've made mistakes along the way, but you are really refining yourself into a stateswoman. And I salute you for that. And I'm proud to know you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It means a lot coming from you.
Well, thank you very much. And I'll let you go. And I'll see you soon. And we'll do it again. And we'll show some documents and we'll keep informing the people.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mayor Miller. All right. There we go. All right. Let me get all this stuff set up here. I'm a little slow on the trigger finger today, aren't I? Oh, what have I done? Hold on. Hold on. I'm a little slow on the trigger finger. There we go. But you know what I think we should do is I need to thank another sponsor that allows me to do this.
You want to look good? You want to feel good? Little John's Big and Tall is where it's at. Right across the street from Sky's Pizza Pie, 5700 North Davis Highway. You can find out more online at littlejohnsbigandtall.com. He's also a member of the iTex trading community, where your iTex dollars are welcome.
And as always, I want to thank the Unknown Patriot for your sponsorship of the show. And if anybody else wants to become an Unknown Patriot, I would sure be grateful. Thank you so much, Unknown Patriot, for your support of the show. And also, of course, to all of you who throw a tip in the tip jar by becoming a patron at patreon.com/Bernie Thompson. It's easy. It's anonymous. And you can quit anytime. Patreon.com/Bernie Thompson to find out more. And let's see, it's the end of the show. I wonder how I could end it.
In Panama City Beach, I'm Tom Lewis, News 13, Panhandle Strong.